我就有10几万封信在我那麻袋一麻袋的在家里，结果真的那时候就没有email也没短信，就是发信嘛。
对啊。
那就四川出了一件事儿，突然不知道怎么回事，俩警察找我来了。俩警察找我说什么事儿啊？说我们抓着一个坏人，他是国民党特务，他写反动文件，就是信。那么我们在审查的过程中，他说他寄给你了最主要的资料。我说哦，我说我没看过，太多了，他说那我们可不可以帮你？就是你介不介意我们来查一下？我说没问题，你查吧。
Hey guys, Jerry from Fight Commentary Breakdowns here. I won't interrupt too much. I just want to tell you that one of the reasons I translated this part is because something happened to me in college that reminded me of this. So I will keep translating, but stay tuned. After this next part, I'll tell you my story involving 2 cops in college. Really funny. Also, 2 cops coming to my dorm. So stay tuned, guys, all right? We're going to keep watching this, keep translating.
你这那时候就那小后院里的一个小房里头有几个麻袋，我妈妈搁在那儿，她就一打开，哎呦，我还以为明天就回四川了，坏了。俩警察辛辛苦苦坐在我那门口5天，一封一封看。完了以后我就说您这特务您写别的呀，弄我这儿来了。这警察多辛苦，俩人就坐那儿这么一封一封的看，要找那个情报怎么找啊？真是
找着了吗？后来
不知道，最后俩人就说谢谢了，我们走了5天。真的
I can't even imagine how awkward it was because the cops were reading, I would say 90% letters from girl fans of Jet Li. Jet Li was really handsome when he was young. China in the 80s was pretty repressed, right? So I can't even imagine what type of stuff was let out because there was no other way to let out these thoughts. So like the cops were probably reading some really questionable stuff, as in like morally questionable stuff, right? Probably lots of Jet Li, I want to marry you, but you know, you guys extrapolate what else they could have said beyond Jet Li, I want to marry you. I like that Jet Li has a sense of humor about it, right? And he described the police as being pretty nice, but who knows? It's many years after the fact, right? So Jet Li probably just to tell the story without getting in trouble might have sanitized it. But you know, if this is how it actually happened, then cool. You know, some cops are cool, right? But that is just so hilarious. They read through all his letters. Now, I wonder if the cops reported to Jet Li any letters that had any significance. Like, obviously, they didn't find the person they were looking for, right? The quote-unquote spy. But maybe there were some other really cool things. Maybe there were business deals or something, like business offers in the letters. I wonder if the cops told Jet Li. Or it's like the cops literally stuck to the mission, didn't tell Jet Li anything about the letters, looked for this apparent spy in every single letter, the hundreds of thousands, and then didn't find him and then just went away. You guys let me know, man. You guys let me know. Would you let your parents, would you let the cops read your fan mail if you were ever famous? If you were famous, what would you do with fan mail? Would you put it in a room like Jet Li did? Or would you just throw it away? Or would you try to read and reply to all of it? Let me know, how would you approach this type of thing? So I'm gonna try something new today, guys, because you guys waited this far. I promised a funny story. So since we talked about Jet Li's experience with 2 cops, let's talk about this college story I promised you guys. So this was freshman year. I was living in the quad. For those of you who go to college, usually everyone wants to live in the quad. I had 2 roommates, very frat boy white guys. They were cool people, but you know, I was very different than them. As part of college, you had to have a foreign language fulfillment. Unfortunately, I didn't pass out of my Spanish, so I had to actually take a semester of Spanish in college. I tested into the highest Spanish class I could have taken in college, so some advanced Spanish terms. Sometimes you guys are like, Jerry, how do you pronounce Spanish so well? I guess that's why, because I still remember how to pronounce Spanish, I just can't speak Spanish. So we had a unit on crime. Spanish terms for crime, for murder and all that. As part of one of our homework assignments, we were supposed to write a murder. I'm not kidding. I think you guys know where this is going. Look at me. Do I look like a guy who understands any of this? So I basically plagiarized this Edgar Allan Poe story. I believe the title was Cask of Amontillado, something like that. But basically, it's a story about he takes his friend and he I don't remember what he does, but somehow he puts him in a wall. That was the best inspiration I had, so I reinvented that, reinterpreted, plagiarized, whatever you call it, and I wrote it in Spanish. My Spanish teacher sends me an email. She's like, wow, Jerry, you are a really good writer, man. This tale you wrote in Spanish gave me chills. She wrote it in English, right? She couldn't express herself in Spanish. She wrote it in English. So for those of you who remember, this was back when everyone used Facebook. I guess I was proud because, I felt like I wasted a semester of Spanish, but somehow there was this story, even though I half plagiarized it, I wrote it in Spanish. I posted it on Facebook. I'm like, check out this story I wrote, man. It got a few people scared. And the context was lost when I said that, right? So all these people, especially freshman year of college, you have all these Facebook friends that they don't even really know you, right? You might have met once, or some of them you never even have met. So all these people are reading it. They're like, Jerry, why are you writing this? I'm studying, right? College, busy, studying. I get back into my room. My 2 frat boy neighbors are there. They're like, Jerry, dude, the house dean. So the house dean is the person in charge of whatever dorm, right? The house dean was here with 2 cops. Jerry, what the fuck did you do? And I'm like, I didn't do anything. What are you talking about? The house dean wants you to see her immediately. She was here with 2 cops. My 2 roommates are scared. First, I called the house dean. I'm like, her name was April. I'm like, April, what's going on? I heard 2 cops were at my door. Again, college dorm, right? 2 cops showing up at your door. The house dean's like, you're not in trouble, Jerry. Don't worry, just come. I just want to talk to you. So I'm like, what's going on? So I go to the house dean. At that point, no cops anymore, right? And she's like, so Jerry, one of your Facebook friends, reported some story you wrote on Facebook. And immediately I'm like, oh my goodness. So I'm like, April, look, this was an assignment for Spanish class. I put it on Facebook because, the Spanish teacher really liked my story. And I guess I forgot to tell people, look, this was just a story I wrote. So I explained it. Everything was good. The cops never showed up again. Went back into my dorm, and for the next week, my 2 roommates called me America's Most Wanted. What's really funny about that story was that 2 cops showed up, like in Jet Li's story. But the difference is I wasn't there. I studied in the computer lab with some of my friends. We had a group of us, we studied in the computer lab. So I was actually away. So my 2 roommates had to be the one to open up the door, and there were 2 cops and the house dean. To learn a lesson from this story, right? Just give context to things. It made sense that there was such a big response. And then on top of that, the other lesson would be just be careful who your online friends are, right? I don't use Facebook anymore, but back then when we went to college, it was like, oh my God, add everyone in the school. Oh my God, we're all gonna make friends. It's like, that's not how friendships work. I went on Facebook, I'm like, dude, okay, whoever reported me, I don't blame you, but look, here's the context of this story. Unfriend me, right? That was my story, guys. If you guys stayed this long into the video, thank you so much. Maybe I'll do more of these under the moonlight type stories. I think this is kind of fun. So if you guys want more of these stories, let me know. Okay, guys, my commentary breakdown's out.